we have no disclosures. In the year 2020, there were over 45,000 firearm-related deaths in the United States. And this translates to about 124 people dying daily from a firearm-related injury. It is important to know that 54% of all these gun-related deaths are due to suicide, while only about 43% are due to homicides. In Maryland, the incidence of firearm-related deaths is about 14 deaths per 100,000 of the population. And gun deaths are often driven by mental health and socio-economic deprivation. And while various indices have been explored to measure the magnitude of this problem, no single metric have actually captured its complexity. We believe that neighborhood economic deprivations, such as the Distressed Community Index, will provide a more robust measure of economic deprivation. Our objective is to determine the association between the Distressed Community Index, which is a measure of a community-level economic deprivations, and rates of firearms injuries in Maryland. We hypothesized that the Distressed Community Index is a more robust socio-economic deprivation measure, and that it is going to show strong association with firearm injuries, even when we adjust for other measures of social determinants of health. To test our hypothesis, we conducted a retrospective analysis using the Maryland State Emergency Database. And we carried out our study between January 2019 to December 2020. We took advantage of the fact that beginning from January 2019, the state databases in the HCOP includes 12 data elements which identifies the mechanism of injury. We did this to improve the sensitivity and specificity of our outcome variable, which is rate of firearm related deaths. We therefore utilize the variable in the HCOP to extract all firearm related injuries, rather than using the ICD-10 diagnosis codes, which are usually prone to coding errors. There were close to 3,000 emergency department visits on account of firearm injuries in the database between January 2019 and December 2020. And the majority of these patients were blacks, about 84.5%, and males, 88.5%. However, when we compare this to recent estimates of population of Maryland residents, we found out that 57%, about 58% of Maryland residents are white, while 31.4% are blacks, implying that firearm injuries is a majorly black male problem in Maryland. And the median age was 27 years, while the mortality rates found in the data set was about 17.7%. We took a more granular look at the Distressed Community Index, which uses 7 local metrics to quantify socioeconomic risk as listed in the table. And these socioeconomic measures include the proportion of the population that is at least 25 years without a high school diploma or its equivalent, housing vacancy rates, adults age at least 16 who are unemployed, poverty rate, median household income, and local change in employment and number of business establishments. From this information, scores were generated based on the ranking from the zip codes. Here, we have highlighted the different levels of the Distressed Community Index and how this compares to each other. The purple line represents the prosperous quintile, which is the richest quintile, while the light blue line represents the at risk, and the purple represents the at-risk and the light blue represents the distress. Across all indicators, there were a consistent worsening of socioeconomic parameters from the prosperous to the distressed communities. We went ahead to conduct a multivariate analysis to determine this association between the distressed community index and the incidence of firearm-related emergency department visits. In the final multivariate analysis, we adjusted for patients' age, for mental health conditions like depression, other socioeconomic indicators such as insurance type and household income. We also adjusted for lifestyle behaviors such as alcohol addiction, substance abuse, and smoking. In the result generated from the multivariate analysis, we found out that there is an increased odds of firearm injuries as we move from the reference, which is prosperous communities, to the other, across the different other categories. Finally, we examined the predicted probabilities of firearm injuries across the different distressed community index quintiles. And this figure highlights some interesting findings. One is the fact that there is a significant increase in the probability of firearm-related injuries from the prosperous community to the distressed community. And secondly, the predicted probability of firearm injuries in the mid-tier group was higher than that of the at-risk group. This is an interesting finding and support findings in the literature that shows that even as jobs become available, as a middle-class lifestyle remains difficult to obtain or sustain because incomes are not growing as fast as the cost of healthcare, housing, childcare, education, or other monthly expenditures. This puts this particular group, the mid-tier group, at a higher level of stress, which may have accounted for the higher incidence of the firearm injuries in this group. In conclusion, we found a significant association between the distressed community index and the occurrence of firearm-related injuries in Maryland. We believe that the distressed community index will adequately capture this association as shown in this study. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer.